We're going to do a short exercise. There you go. Hey, how you doing? I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see your name. I'm sorry. It popped up for a second. But yeah, we're going to do a small exercise in just a little bit. And when we do it, hopefully you guys all have a paper, a pencil, or something, a pen. Because I want you guys to put it up like this. And I'm going to be able to see you what we're doing. So that's awesome. Just giving you a little preface. All right. So you have an agency, you're starting a company, you're looking to start a company, you're up and running, you don't know where you're at, you want to go further. Everything, like Adrian just said, what I love to talk to people about is it does come down to you. Leadership, if leadership is in part of this talk, then where is your mind at, right? That's where it comes from. Are you leading people? Do you have a team, or are you leading yourself? And where are you at in your mind, in your heart, when it comes to that leadership? So there's a few things that I want to talk about. Your power, right? Who are you? What will make you successful? What is your dream? Like, what are you doing? I hope, like somebody else mentioned, that you're doing what you want to be doing, what you're good at, what you love. You're not just going out there and finding something that says, oh, hey, I think I can make money doing this, so I'm going to try it. Because usually, that's not where you're fulfilled. That's not where you're going to be successful. You need to be in a place where you're like, I am so good at this and I love doing this. I think I can turn it into a business, because the truth is that you can, right? People who are successful in every industry, there's literally millions of industries out there. If you're good at something, people want it from you, right? I mean, that's why people like to watch sports legends, right? People like Michael Jordan. Why do people love Michael Jordan? Because he's freaking amazing, right? He's just really good at what he does. I'm not a sports guy, so I can't name off a bunch of different sports guys. But there are people on football teams, on basketball teams that sit on the bench and nobody knows their name. Right? They know how to play, and you got to be damn good if you're going to be on a pro team, but nobody knows their name. Why do people love Michael Jordan? Because he's extremely good at what he does. So what are you extremely good at is what's going to take you to the next level. Now, I'm going to go back. I really want to get into people, who you are, what you think about yourself, and the things you talk about, because that's what's leading you right now. There are reasons that you do what you do. There are reasons that you don't do what you want to do, right? Why we do things, why we don't do things. So what are the stories that you tell yourself, and what have you what have you believed about yourself, and what have people told you about you that you believe about yourself, right? I'm going to give you an example. My son, my youngest son is 14 years old, right? And I learned that when people tell us things, even growing up, that they're not trying to harm us, like my mother, for example. I'll give you an example of my mom first. When I was little, my mother we'd be out in public and we'd be playing, right? And there was 3 of us kids, and my mom would be there, and we'd all be running around playing. And she would say, "Come here, son, be quiet, don't bother those people over there," right? If we were at a park or we were out in public or whatever it was. And I realized over years, she would always say that, "Come here, son, don't bother those people. Come here, son, be quiet, don't bother those people." As I got older, I realized that when I was out in public, I was quiet and I wouldn't really talk too much. I wouldn't say too many things because I thought that I bothered people. Was she trying to put this complex on me? Was she trying to have me not talk to anybody, to seclude myself? No. She was trying to be polite when we were in public and say, "Hey, son, don't bother those people." That went into my mind over and over and over again. So the next thing I knew, I thought that I was bothering people. So how did that help in my business or in my communications and things that I did? It didn't help very much, right? So the example I want to give you for you, what are you telling yourself? And maybe analyze, what do you believe about yourself, right? Here's what I do for my son. Here's what I've done for many of my kids, but I'm talking about my youngest son because I've done it for his entire life. I've known this long enough to do it for his entire life. Every single morning since he was a little tiny baby boy, when I wake him up, I rub his back and I tell him, "You're awesome and you're amazing. You're loving and you're kind. You're smart. You're amazing." I just keep saying the same things over again. "You're awesome. You're smart. You're loving. You're kind." Over and over and over again. Now, when I tell him this, who else am I talking to? I'm talking to myself. I'm saying it for him, but I'm also hearing it. You know that, right? Anything that you say to other people, anything you do to other people, it's a reflection of you and it's coming back to you, right? So I pour this into my son. "You're awesome and amazing. You're loving, you're kind, you're strong, you're handsome, you're needed." I tell him these things every day of his life. To this morning, before I left the house, I did the same thing for him. That's how I wake him up every morning. The example I want to give you with him was so awesome and amazing. He was probably about 5, 6 years old, and he was getting ready to leave the house. And I said, be careful out there, son. Have fun, but be careful. And he turned around and he looked at me. He said, don't worry, Dad. I'm awesome and I'm amazing. And I was just like, wow, that was so cool. I was like, that's right. You are, son. Right. And he took off out there. Now, when he's waking up and I'm pouring this into him, I felt like sometimes, I don't know if he's hearing me or not. Right. But I'm pouring this into him. And I knew he heard me when he turned around and he said that. Right. That was who he believed, or that's who he believes that he is. He's awesome and amazing. So now, as he's 14 years old, and these last few years, he's a teenager and he's, growing up. And I don't know, there's only a few of you here who I don't know if I know anybody here. So you guys don't really know my background story. Maybe I'll give you a little bit of that. But I grew up in a whole different lifestyle than my kids are growing up in. Right. I didn't have anybody telling me I was awesome and amazing. I spent a lot of time incarcerated. But the key to this and the message I'm trying to give you is, what are you telling yourself? Because it's going to affect your business. Okay, it's going to definitely affect your business and how you do things and how you don't do things and why you don't do things. And it's a subconscious thing, right? We're gonna talk a little bit in a minute about your mind and your heart and how to connect and the difference in if we're leading by our head or if we're leading through our heart. All right. So let me go back a little bit. I do want to tell you just a little bit about me. My name is Raul Lopez Jr. I own a company called UL Seminars, and that company owns Tag Talks, which is a speaking forum where I bring people out to share their personal stories. Okay, personal story of overcoming a challenge in your life. At some point, after having a challenge in your life, you made a decision. You go, hey, I'm not going to live like this. There has to be more to life than this. You make a decision. You seek knowledge. You gain the wisdom, and you change your life. And then people come up, they share that story, and they give the tools out to other people, how they change their life and what they're doing. And my hopes is that people take those tools and they change their lives with them. So in short, I'm going to just do this in bullet point because I have, I think, 30 minutes, and it would take me 45 minutes to tell you my whole story. But in short, the companies that I have are based on my life wisdom, right? And there's a difference in reading a book and understanding what that book says and living the experience in life and having some wisdom. So at a very young age, 7 years old, prior to that, I had my mother, my father, and my siblings, wonderful, loving family. At the age of 7, my mother came home one day, pulled me away from my father, flew me to another state, and said, you're never going to see your dad again. And it just broke me. At the age of 7, it really broke me because I loved my father. I was a daddy's boy. I was with him everywhere he went. So that was a big shift for me. It was, looking back, it was childhood trauma. So we went to another state, which was Alaska. We stayed there for just under a year. Really got twisted mentally, right? Emotionally, didn't understand my emotions. And that really took me off onto a weird path from this loving little boy where that childhood just ended to confused, right? I didn't understand my emotions. Why do I feel the way that I feel? Why do I act the way that I act? Why do I do the things that I do? At that age, we don't understand those things. So in short, by the time I was 9 years old, I was on drugs. When I was 13, I had my first child. And then when I was 14, I got incarcerated. From 14 to 24, I spent the majority of those 10 years in some type of facility, right? I was a ward of the court. I would think I was a registered alcoholic by the time I was 15. Then I was a ward of the court. I was ended up in San Quentin prison. Got out of San Quentin prison when I was 24 years old with those 3 questions throughout my entire life. Why do I do what I do? Why do I act the way that I act? And why do I feel the way that I feel? Okay, and that's when I started my journey of trying to understand some of these little things that I've been telling you guys about, right? Living on the streets or in some type of facility, you're not getting, hey, you're awesome, you're amazing, you're loving, and you're kind, right? You adapt to that lifestyle, and you have to act a certain way. You got to be tough. You can't show weakness, right? When you're incarcerated, there are certain, I call it a subculture that I had molded myself into, that I lived for so many years. When I started to seek new things, I really had to go deep. And I'll tell you, it was a spiritual thing also that changed me. But in short, this journey, I started to study like psychology, right? I'll tell you another little piece. I'm trying to do this quickly. When I got out of prison, I wanted to move from the county that I was in to another county. And you're not allowed to do that without permission from the county. You have to parole to the county that you committed your crime in, and you got to live there while you're on parole. You have to ask permission anytime you want to go outside the county. I wanted to move out of the county because I couldn't change my life. I knew I wouldn't be able to change my life living in the county that I was in, because that's where I got in all the trouble all the time. So my parole officer said, if you can go to that county, but you got to go ask them permission if you can live there. So I went and I asked, and in short, the parole officer said, if you want to live here, there's one condition. You have to go to college, right? By this time now, I'm 25, recently out of prison. I hadn't even graduated high school yet. I'm 25 years old. So I went and I signed up for college classes. I said, yes, I'm going to do it, right? He said, you need to go to college. I had no idea how to go to college. And in my mind, think about those 10 years, that culture that I'd lived in, college wasn't, anything we thought about, right? It was, if anything, we made fun of people and we, whatever the subculture is there. So I went, I figured it out. I signed up for some classes. I had to go to on the campus, I had to go to this little unit on the side first to get my high school equivalency, right? I told you I hadn't graduated from high school. Then I finally got into college. When I got there, I just took regular GE, and one of the GE classes is Psychology 101. Psychology 101 answered those three questions that I just talked about. Why do I do what I do? Why do I act the way that I act? And why do I feel the way that I feel? In a form of paraphrase, if this happened to you as a child, you may feel like this. If you experience this, you may act like this. And it just answered the questions that I didn't know there were answers to. Because for so many years, I'd been lost, living in fog, trying to figure these things out. And it answered the questions, so I just dove in. I mean, it grabbed me, right? It grabbed me, and I got off of the GE track, and I just started to study psychology and neuroscience and, Einstein's theories and anything that I could that would help me understand those whys in my life. Now, when you seek, you shall find, right? All this is leading into your business. It really is, because I don't know where you've been or what you've done, but for the most part, I don't think everybody's had a perfect life here. Has anybody here had a perfect life? If you had, I want you to come out over here because we're going to beat you up right now. Nobody's had a perfect life, and we've all had struggles. And there are things that are in our mind, that hold us back. There are things that are in our mind that hold us back. So, moving forward, I got through school, I started to seek, and I started to learn some of these things that I teach now, that I share on stage, that are in my book, and everything I'm passionate about, right? I started out saying, I hope you're doing something you're good at. I hope you're doing something you're passionate about, right? What I'm doing right now in my business, I have 3 businesses. What I'm doing right now in my business is God-given passion for me. Right? And honestly, when you get to that point, I think the wonderful guy ahead of me was talking about, I hope it's not just money-based, what you're doing. And that's the truth. I did this for many years. I did this for almost 20 years for free. I volunteered in juvenile hall, and I volunteered in state prison, trying to help these kids not experience what I experienced, right? So it's a God-given passion. You can probably hear it in my voice. I love doing it. So what is your business? Going back, what is your business? Are you passionate about it? Because if you can talk to people the way I'm talking to you right now, they're gonna believe you. They're gonna hear your dream. I don't want to say they're even gonna believe you. They're gonna know that you're true. They're gonna know that you're real. That's what it comes down to. You don't necessarily need a script. I'm not really a script guy. There are times that we need them, but you don't need a script to read off and go duh, 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 because people hear that, people understand that, people sense that, right? So it's not about exactly every word and trying to be like, a book tells you to be. It's about, are you passionate about the business you're in? Are you passionate about what you're teaching? Are you passionate about what you're offering? Okay? All right, so that's enough about my story. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background. I do want to help you with understanding and communicating with the people that you work with, right? Whether, I don't know, I could see a few of you. Raise your hand if you guys have employees. You guys have employees, or you? Okay, good, right on. All right, so and this, everything that I'm talking to you about, it has to do with you, right? Somebody's leading you, right? You got to lead your mind, your heart. Somebody's leading you, and then you're leading a few people. So when you're leading your people, if you're passionate about what you're doing, just like I'm telling you, you're selling them a dream. You're selling them your dream, right? Your dream, I'm going to say it again, needs to be passion, needs to be passionate. Now, here's a trick that I've learned, psychological, that helps you understand who you're talking to and helps you to connect with the people that you're talking to so that you can sell your dream or that you can help them in whatever way you're helping them. All right? So everybody have a piece of paper? I need you guys to get a piece of paper and a pencil. I don't have a pencil. Can somebody throw me a pen real quick, please? Anything, yeah. Here we go. Thank you, sir. All right, perfect. Thank you, Adrian. All right, so if you got a pencil or a pen, there you go. All I want you to do is get that pencil, and if any of you have heard, well, hopefully you all have, a blueprint. You You have a blueprint, right? I'm looking at the screen, and I guess I'm supposed to be looking up here. If you have a blueprint, like a building blueprint, whether it be a commercial, a residential, whatever it is, and I just want you to draw your idea of a blueprint, the house, a building, draw a real quick outline of a blueprint. And if you haven't seen a blueprint, it really is just an outline, right? With the rooms, draw a blueprint out real quick. I'll give you about 30 seconds here. Go ahead. When you have it, when you're done, hold it up so I can see it, please. If you could put on your camera so I can see what you drew, that would be amazing, even if for just for a second. All right, who has it? Oh, I see one, I see two, I see three. Just real quick, guys, just pop it up there so I can see that you got it. This is going to be pretty cool, something to understand. Oh, look at that. I see it. Cool, nice. I see them. All right, cool. So, looking at the ones that I can see, not one of them are the same. What would be the odds that any of you guys put up the exact same blueprint? Zero. Right? It's 100% zero. And and your blueprint comes from everything that you've understood in your life, everything that you've thought of, everything you've experienced, everywhere you've been, right? Blueprint. We're talking about people now, the way we think, who we are, why we are. So if all of your blueprints are different that you've drawn, that's the example of who you are. My blueprint, the way I grew up, if you didn't know that, is 100% different than yours. Every single one of you, everybody you meet has a different blueprint. So when I'm talking to a customer, a person, coaching somebody one-on-one, whatever it is, if I'm living off of my blueprint, can you see me holding this thing? If I'm living off of my blueprint and I look at that person and they say something to me and I go, well, in my mind or out loud, no, that's not right. It works like this. I'm living off of my blueprint. Right? I think it works this way. I think they should feel this way. I think they should act that way off of my blueprint. They have that completely different blueprint because of the way they were raised in their life. And I want to give you an example of that to really make it clear. My wife and I, we've been together for 30 years. When, in about the middle of that, I noticed in the mornings, she would be really upset with me, right? I'd wake up, I wouldn't even, just got out of bed. Get up and she'd be pissed off at me. And I would be like, I don't understand what happened. And I just got up. Like, why are you mad at me? And then you know, for a while I didn't say anything, but I noticed that it was always in the morning when I would get up, she'd be mad. So one day I just said, you know, honey, I noticed that you're mad at me like every morning. I didn't do anything. I don't know what's happening. Like, why are you mad? And she just looked at me and she said, why don't you get up in the morning and turn on the heater so the house is warm for me and the kids? And I was smart enough not to go, well, why don't you? Because that's the first thing that came to my head. But there's a reason that came to my head. My wife was raised with a single dad. She was raised just by her father who raised her. And her dad got up in the morning, every morning, and turned on the heater for them, right? Her conditioning, her blueprint is the man gets up and turns on the heater for the family so that everybody's warm when we get up. I was raised with just my mother. Guess who got up and turned on the heater every morning? My mother got up and turned on the heater every morning for us. So my blueprint says the mom gets up and turns on the heater every morning and for the kids so the house is warm. Now, nobody's right or wrong, but my upbringing, my blueprint, her upbringing, her blueprint are completely different, right? So I had to look at that and go, okay, yeah, she was raised with her dad, and her dad did it every day. So I did it, right? And I also said, well, you could have just told me and I would have done it instead of being mad at me every day. But that's an example of blueprint, right? So who are you talking to? Where are your challenges in growing your business, in growing your agency, and starting your agency, right? Do you have challenges with people, conflicts with people? Sometimes they don't understand you. Like, man, I'm trying to explain to you. Or maybe you've offered somebody something and it's a great value and you know, or you feel like it's a great value and they just don't see it. They're sitting there staring at you like, no, I don't know. Does it frustrate you? understand that they have a different blueprint than you do. They've been raised differently. They have different expectations than you have. I'll tell you, I've had people before that I talk to about their business or whatever it is, and for whatever the reason is, nothing wrong with them. It wasn't something that I felt like I needed, and I didn't want to be. I didn't want to buy what they were selling. And I had one guy get mad at me, and he goes, "Man, I just gave you a whole bunch of value." And I said, I didn't tell him this, but the truth is, right now, this talk that we're having, everybody that comes up and speaks here, I know they're all amazing people. If you don't get value from them, from me, I'm talking about me. If you don't get value from me, it's not up to me to say, I just gave you value, right? I can't tell you I'm giving you value. Hopefully you're getting value from this. Hopefully you're learning something. Hopefully you're getting something that you can take and you can use as a tool in your life and in your business. But I can't make you have value from what I'm trying to teach you, from what I'm offering. Hopefully you get it, right? So when you're speaking with people, when you're working with people, friends, family, life, business, whatever it is, understand everybody has a different blueprint. And there's different ways, right? There's different ways that we've been raised, different beliefs that we've had. All right, how much time do I have here, guys? I'm gonna do good. 10 minutes. 10 more. All right, so let me go through a couple of other things. In growing yourself, right? In leading yourself, how much work do you do? Right? How much work do you do on yourself versus learning how to do a pitch, learning how to, yes, you want to be an expert in whatever you're offering, but how much work are you doing yourself, mentally, physically, right? I think it was Zig Ziglar. I was watching and listening to him one time, and he said, how many people here drive their car till it's completely out of gas, wait till it dies on the side of the road, then walk, get gas, and put gas in their car? And nobody raised their hand, right? I mean, usually if that happens, it's an accident. So he said, that's right. He goes, so then why do you do that with your self-development? Why do you do that with your mind, with your heart? Because so many people will wait till they're feeling down or they're in a depression or till things are going wrong and then go, I need to go get some help here, right? So then they go and they seek some help and they get some help and they get pumped up again. And then they wait till they fall before they get more help. So don't wait till your car runs out of gas to get help on for whatever section you're needing help with, whether it be in your life or in your business, right? Reach out to people. Get yourself a good coach. Watch, whoever's an expert at what you do and that you want to be like. Watch and listen to them, their podcast or whatever it is, and make sure you're always filling your tank, that your tank's always full. That you're learning before you drop. Because we all have ups and downs. But if you're learning before you drop, then your drop's going to be much shorter and probably just a bit of a dip versus a drop, right? All right, let me see. I'm gonna get ready to close here. About 5 minutes here. Let me give you one more thing here. We did the blueprint, power, wisdom. Your wisdom is not common knowledge, okay? I know that I went through a spell or a time frame in my life where after I would learn things, and this goes back to understanding who I am, right? The way that I think and the stories that I tell myself. There was a time in my life after I learned things that I just assumed everybody knew them. I experienced life. I was seeking knowledge. I gained the wisdom. Wisdom is powerful. I gained the wisdom, and then I assumed, because of my own limiting beliefs, then I assumed that people just knew that. So sometimes I'd be sitting in a circle and there'd be a discussion and I'd go, I know the answer to that, but everybody must know the answer to that. And then other times I'd say what I was feeling and people would go, oh my God, I'd never thought about that. So understand that also your wisdom, your knowledge is not, your wisdom is not common knowledge. That's what I meant to say. Your wisdom is not common knowledge. People need to know what you know. People need to know the wisdom that you've gained, right? Who are you? What are you offering to people? Who are you and what are you offering to people, okay? Hopefully, before you get on a call, before you send an email and you're just trying to sell something to somebody, you're getting to know who they are. You're understanding their blueprint because you're going to communicate much better and you're going to be able to sell to them whatever you want because you've listened, you've understood who they are, and then you're going to know if they need what you have, and then you're going to offer it to them. I'll tell you something about Adrian right here. I didn't tell him this. He knew I was sitting here, but one time I was sitting here in the office, and he was selling to somebody over the phone. And I was like, man, this guy, he's good. I was like, he's really good. And I heard him going back and forth with the client, the potential client, and I thought, I wonder if he just says that same talk to everybody, right? Like whether they need his service or not, is he just telling everybody that because it was really good? And I think the first person did buy. And then he got on another call right after that, and I was just sitting there, and he started to talk to this second potential client, and he said, you know what? I don't think I can do what you're asking, but I can refer you to somebody. And I was like, that's awesome, right? That's amazing. Don't just close everybody that calls you and try to get their money and then not service them in the way they need to be served, right? And I thought it was great. So hopefully there are people who are calling you, and this is a whole other subject I don't have time for, but that whole fake it to make it thing, and you're not saying, yeah, I could do that for you, and then you don't know how to do it and you're trying to get somebody else to do it for you. Be you. Use your wisdom, because people need that from you. Not everybody has experienced what you've experienced. And then help people and change their lives in many other ways than just the graphics or the videos or whatever you're going to do for them. All right? That's good for me. I'm Raul Lopez Jr. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day.